All right, I'm here. I literally was still putting on my earpiece. Let's listen.
I am here to deliver this message on behalf of the entire White House.
Resignation?
Let me be clear. The violence we saw yesterday at our nation's capital was appalling, reprehensible, and antithetical to the American way.
And caused by Trump.
We condemn it, the president and this administration,
But he caused
in the strongest possible terms.
But it's his fault.
It is unacceptable, and those that broke the law should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
And it's Trump's fault.
I stood here at this podium the day after a historic church burned amid violent riots, and I said this: the First Amendment guarantees the right of the people to peaceably assemble. What we saw last night in Washington and across the country was not that, end quote. Make no mistake, what we saw yesterday afternoon
was
in the
Trump's
halls
fault.
of our Capitol likewise was not that. We grieve for the loss of life and those injured, and we hold them in our prayers and close to our hearts at this time. We thank our valiant law enforcement officers who are true American heroes. What we saw yesterday was a group of violent rioters undermining the legitimate First Amendment rights of the many thousands who came to peacefully have their voices heard in our nation's capital.
This is cringe.
Those who violently besieged our capital are the opposite of everything this administration stands for.
She'll never take questions, right?
The core value of our administration is the idea that all citizens have the right to live in safety, peace, and freedom. Those who are working in this building are working to ensure an orderly transition of power. Now it is
As of
time
when?
for America to unite, to come together, to reject the violence that we have seen. We are one American people under God. Thank you very much.
Oh my God. What a joke. What a joke. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? So listen, I was planning a stream anyway for the bottom of the hour. I ended up rushing in because it was announced that this was going to take place. I don't know that I've ever seen her move more quickly than that. So basically, Trump's been banned from every social media platform at this point. He is responsible for a riotous, violent insurrection. He has denounced his own vice president. And I mean, just wow. It's the cowardice that we are seeing everywhere here is truly, truly unbelievable. So we will get to, I mean, we just have so much, and this will be a good opportunity to kind of get caught up on all of this stuff. But it is, was that a 30-second? No, I mean, I guess it was about a 90-second press conference. I don't know. Very, very strange. And there are other things that I want to keep covering live. This caught me off guard because I was not planning on going live until just a little bit later. But that's okay. I'll just sort of get everything set up as we are going here. I did want to keep an eye out on what's happening on Newsmax, and I don't think you'll be surprised that they're talking about election fraud. Oh, God, their president led a violent insurrection yesterday, and they're saying, there were irregularities in this. We had some irregularities in this election. So that's what's going on from the standpoint of Newsmax. And then I had an ABC feed that I wanted to pull up as well. I'm glad you're here because there's just a lot to get caught up on. Okay, here we had an ABC feed as well. So we have a lot of different things here that we're going to be monitoring and looking at. But arguably the most humiliating 36 hours of the presidency of Donald Trump. Yeah, let's actually do that. I'm going to replay the press briefing because it was so short. Let's see how long it actually was. So it went from minus 358 to minus 210. So basically an hour and 48 minutes. Let's just look at it again, okay?
I am here to deliver this message on behalf of the entire White House. Let me be clear. The violence we saw yesterday at our nation's capital was appalling, reprehensible, and antithetical to the American way.
That's true.
We condemn it.
But remember, Trump said at 12:30, we're going to go to the Capitol down Pennsylvania Avenue. And then at 1, they went to the Capitol down Pennsylvania Avenue. You understand, right? Okay.
The president and this administration in the strongest possible terms.
They condemn it, but he caused it.
It is unacceptable, and those that broke the law should be prosecuted to the fullest extent.
No doubt. No doubt.
I stood here at this podium the day after a historic church burned amid violent riots, and I said this: the First Amendment guarantees the right of the people to peaceably assemble. What we saw last night in Washington and across the country was not that, end quote.
Okay.
Make no mistake, what we saw yesterday afternoon in the halls of our Capitol likewise was not that. We grieve for the loss of life and those injured, and we hold them in our prayers and close to our hearts at this time. We thank our valiant law enforcement officers who are true American heroes.
Yeah, and there are still questions about why what happened even happened the way it did, but we'll have to address that in a subsequent period of time.
What we saw yesterday was a group of violent rioters undermining the legitimate First Amendment rights of the many thousands who came to peacefully...
See, she's missing a word. What we saw yesterday was a group of violent rioters inspired by and rioting in defense of this president's attempt to steal an election he clearly lost, right? There's a lot of words missing here.
...have their voices heard in our nation's capital. Those who violently besieged our capital are the opposite of everything this administration stands for. The core value of our administration is...
Like, what do you mean? It's exactly what the administration stands for.
...the idea that all citizens have the right to live in safety, peace, and freedom.
Right, and Trump incited people, making it less safe.
Those who are working in this building are working to ensure an orderly transition of power.
Wow.
Now,
so, by the way, notice how now they've slipped that in. Trump put out a statement in the middle of the night through Dan Scavino, because Trump was banned on Twitter at the time, suspended on Twitter, saying that even though he won, he'll still allow the transition. And now she's pretending the last 2 months didn't happen and saying, listen, everybody here is committed to a peaceful transition of power. As of when? As of 5 minutes ago?
Now it is time for America to unite, to come together, to reject the violence that we have seen. We are one American people under God.
And of
Thank
course,
you very much.
it's been time for that for a long time. And the reason it hasn't happened is because of her boss. So absolutely bonkers. And so now a minute and 42 seconds, I think we determined that was. So listen, she is a lot of the rats have abandoned the sinking ship. Trump even denounced his own vice president yesterday, but Kayleigh McEnany appears to be committed to going down with the ship. And I don't know what she has going on the back end and what she anticipates. I mean, she may already have some kind of consulting gig lined up, or who knows, right, what her personal motivations are. But she has decided she's going down with the ship. So we have a lot to discuss today. I have clips, I have images, I have memes, songs. Will I address my goatee? Probably not. Probably not. My girlfriend has asked that I get rid of it. It's just a goof. I'm so bored that I got a haircut and just started shaving in a goatee. She described it as pervy, to be honest. And so that's, but I'm trying to keep it for a little bit. And then I think the plan is I'll get rid of this part and just leave a handlebar for a day and maybe do one stream like that. And then we'll just go back to normal. So that's what's going on. I'm not going to, goatee material is probably exceeds the scope of this stream. I mean, the country is in crisis. We can't be talking about my goatee, but yeah. Okay, good. So we've got that, and we've got a lot of other things going on. Real quick, just so I don't fall behind, I do want to say thanks to the 5 new Twitch subscribers that just signed up. And also want to say thanks to a bunch of people who signed up on my website. Elena Sabut, or Sabu, Kristen Kiley, as well as Harry Guzman, Yes. Okay. So the three of you, which puts us at 8. And yes, I'm glad to open phone lines. We have a very modest goal of 100 for today. But there's a lot of other things to discuss here. So let me go through my agenda. Let me continue. Oh, okay. So earlier this week, I said, is it conceivable that we will get to 4,000 coronavirus deaths a day? And 4,100 coronavirus deaths yesterday. So it's an unmitigated tragedy at this point in time. As far as vaccination goes, there have now been 5.48 million doses, first doses, mostly first doses in the United States, some second doses now. These numbers are just completely pathetic. I don't know any other way to say it. We've now vaccinated about just looking roughly we've given a first dose to like 1.6% of the population. We were supposed to have 100 million doses by the end of 2020. We ended up with not even 20 million. So 578 divided by 331. So we're at 1.65%, mostly first vaccinations. So it's it's embarrassing and humiliating. And we'll have to see how Joe Biden scales that up. Okay, so that's the vaccination discussion. Not much else to say. As you can see, Donald Trump has not tweeted. I believe, so I don't know if Donald Trump is unsuspended. And the reason I say that is the way these suspensions work, these early stage suspensions before they just delete your account, essentially, is that Trump was suspended for 12 hours, but he has to remove the 3 tweets. And this most recent tweet was a tweet. Actually, you know what? Let's look at here it is. We can actually look at Trump's deleted tweets. So the most recent one was basically Trump saying the violence is justified. These are the things and events that happen when a sacred landslide election victory is unceremoniously and viciously stripped away from great patriots who have been badly and unfairly treated for so long. Go home with love and in peace. Remember this day forever. This tweet is one of the ones that got Donald Trump suspended. He's essentially defending the violence. The other tweet was this video in which Trump says it's time to go home, but we love you and you're great people and it was stolen and we had a landslide win. So that was both inciting violence or defending violence and also election misinformation. And then earlier in the day, this one where Donald Trump turned on his own vice president, Mike Pence. Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify, et cetera, et cetera. And those are disputed claims about elections. So thanks to those 3 tweets, you can see 2 of them are missing here and the third one down here. Donald Trump was suspended for 12 hours. I don't know if the reason Trump hasn't tweeted is because he never actually removed them and you don't get your account back until you remove them, or because he's just staying off of Twitter for the time being. We don't know the answer to that at this point in time. In terms of yesterday, so a few different things I've been tweeting about, and I appreciate everybody who's been engaging on Twitter. Number one, there is the idea that this is not over. And my instinct is that that is absolutely correct. The Anti-Defamation League has been monitoring very closely the plans of these extremist rioters. And as you can see, the ADL finds that extremists are celebrating what they consider a huge success yesterday and have turned to planning their next attempted coup targeting Inauguration Day. Now, security is dramatically being scaled up in Washington, D.C. around the Capitol. And I have every belief that Joe Biden's inauguration, much like, remember, for 2 months, they've been saying this state, it's over. This state, it's over. This state, it's over. Everything has happened as scheduled. December 14, everything's been happening as scheduled. But I have no doubt that it is likely they are going to try more and that there will be more violence. I tweeted earlier, there's this woman. Oh, she deleted it. Oh, my God. She deleted the tweet. Oh, wait a second. Did she ban me? Oh, no way. Oh, she blocked me. Oh, my God. So Brigitte Gabriel is a lunatic bomb-throwing right-winger. And she had put together a tweet, which now is I guess I could log out. It's just let me see. Hold on. Copy linked address. And then I'll do incognito. And then we'll go to it. This should allow me to see it. There it is. Okay, good. So her blocking me is not helping. There's this picture, right? So Trump flag, Trump hat, Trump hat, Trump hat, Trump hat, Trump sweatshirt, Trump hat. You see all that, right? Brigitte Gabriel says, the man in the yellow has a communist hammer and sickle tattoo on his hand. Now, I can't even tell whether that's true. But if it is, you're sort of ignoring some key elements of that. So I responded to her and also tweeted, fascinating analysis. Is there anything we can deduce from the Trump flags and hats? And yesterday we jokingly said, they're not really going to blame Antifa, right? They're not really going to blame BLM. They're not really going to blame communists or socialists. And that's exactly what they're doing. And then later I even posted this. Is it possible that the red symbols that I've circled might tell us something about the ideological origins of the rioters? Or are we simply left to make wild guesses? And it's interesting to focus on what she claims is here when you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, come on, guys. I don't know. It's really what might be the political ideology of these individuals. And hilariously, in the hour since I tweeted this, Brigitte Gabriel has blocked me. Blocked me. Apparently, her feelings supersede my facts. So that's that. And then what else did I have from Twitter that I wanted to share with you guys? Oh, okay. Yeah, this appears to be the moment where it started. And you can see this seems to be the first approach to what at this point was a perimeter around the Capitol. And this was going on all sides. So, you know, it started at a lot of different places. But this appears to be the beginning.
That's our house.
And keep an eye on this guy right here.
We came for this bullshit for some bullshit.
So yelling, they start kind of pushing in on the barriers, and then it goes crazy. And then see, this guy gets ready. He takes off his denim jacket in preparation for something, and then flips his hat backwards. And that's how you know he's ready. Okay? And then it escalated from there. And then you'll see it just there it is. There they go for the barriers. So this appears to be sort of like ground zero as far as yesterday is concerned. And what else here? Oh, yeah. We also noticed this. The woman killed today in Congress was a devoted QAnon supporter who believed today, this is yesterday, would mark the storm, the day QAnon supporters hope Trump will arrest and execute his political opponents. So very, very ugly stuff. Yeah. So that's that. Let me do a couple of, there's just a lot happening. So let me do a couple of messages and that sort of thing. I do want to say thank you to the 24 additional Twitch subscribers. 24 people just subbed and a few people gifted subs, which I really appreciate. Beppers gifting some subs. And did David Chadman gift some subs? Not this time, but that's okay. You can never thank David Chadman too many times. And then also on my website, I want to say thank you to Nicole Newton, who just signed up, Jessica Billhart, and Rudiger Schmidt, who are new members 33, 34, and 35 at joinpacman.com. Let me read a few super chats. The tattoo is from a video game, says Nicholas Canavy. That may well be. I have no idea. The name of the fur hat. Oh, yeah, I don't want to get into naming specific. There's been, I'm not saying you're wrong, but there's been so much like incorrect doxing and stuff like that. I want to be careful with that. Are there any parallels as an Argentinian you see between Perón and Trump? Just curious. Well, populist rhetoric tends to look very similar over history. And so there's no doubt about that. The hammer and sickle is from Dishonored. I'm guessing that's a video game. David, will the David Pakman Show heavy stream schedule be compliant with EPA standards post January 20th, or will it be back to drip, flushing toilets 10 to 15 times, etc.? Yeah, you know, the EPA is very much concerned with heavy metals, and the heavy stream schedule, I think, is being looked at in a very similar way. Thanks to Spudnik and Bonebornai for the gifted subs as well. Twitter specifically stated that the 12-hour time limit starts when the offending tweets are removed. Okay, so Trump may not even have removed those tweets yet. Arrest Alex Jones. His comments, we don't know how this is going to end, but if they want to fight, they better believe they have got one. David, the hammer and sickle tattoo is a symbol from a video game. The hammer and sickle tattoo is a symbol from a video game. The tattoo is from the video game Dishonored. Okay, I think it's very clear that that tattoo is from the video game Dishonored. I think we can safely say that. Okay, I have. Will you guys indulge me in just one song? We have a little time today, and I do have one new song. As many of you might have heard, Donald Trump's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, did a warning about our membership specials, and I have it here on my song spreadsheet. DJ Physic put this together for us. This is a remix of Michael Cohen warning me about the membership specials. Okay, take a listen to this. I like this one.
Michael Cohen has agreed to plead guilty to 8 different counts.
Hey, David Parkman, it's Michael Cohen here. Prison really sucks as a result of this membership coupon.
Whoa, Michael Cohen in prison thanks to one of our discounts.
David, first and foremost, I need to talk to you about this borderline illegal membership coupon that you have going for this streaming news program, the David Parkman Show.
Right.
Here's the bottom line. I know all about illegality. Here's the bottom line. I know all about illegalities.
The charges against him could carry prison time, potentially 3 to 5 years, although you really just don't know.
I know all about illegalities to this streaming news program, Parkman Show. You may want to think about that twice, because I can tell you firsthand, prison really sucks.
Yep, so that's a cautionary tale. Michael Cohen taken down with one of our brutal membership specials, and he's ending up in a place I don't think any of us want to be. And of course, that's a mashup. It's fake. It's just a joke. And he's out of prison anyway. So I don't know how far that got us. Okay, people are asking me about the Rudy Giuliani phone call. I want to play that. I don't know what people are referring to, though. So can someone tell me what is the Rudy Giuliani phone call? Because I'd love to listen to that with you guys together. I've just been so busy today that I haven't had a chance to do it myself. Where can we find the Rudy phone call that everybody's talking about? I don't even know who the phone call is to or anything like that. Maybe even if I just do a Twitter search, I could find it. Rudy phone call. He called a random person and left a voicemail. Oh, let's see. Rudy Giuliani meant to call Senator Tommy Tuberville to ask him to object to votes, but he left a voicemail on a different phone. We have the audio. Oh, that is rich. That is rich. Oh, here's the audio. Let's listen. This is amazing. This is the first I'm hearing of it. Let's listen to it.
This is Rudy Giuliani, president's lawyer. I'm calling you because I want to discuss with you how they're trying to rush this hearing and how we need you, our Republican friends, to try to just slow it down so we can get these legislatures to get more information to you. And I know they're reconvening at 8 tonight.
Oh, so this was a phone call made in the interim period when the riotous coup shut down the count.
But the only strategy we can follow is to object to numerous states and raise issues so that we get ourselves into tomorrow, ideally until the end of tomorrow. I know McConnell is doing everything he can to rush it.
That's interesting because it's very clear that they've been seeing Mitch McConnell as the enemy in this.
Which is kind of a kick in the head, because it's one thing to oppose us. It's another thing not to give us a fair opportunity to contest it.
Which is funny because, they've had 50 opportunities. Courts have dismissed all of them.
He wants to try to get it down to only three states that we contest. Whether there are 10 states that we contest, not 3.
What a joke.
So if you could object to every state.
Hey, Tuberville, object to every state, even object to states Trump won. Just make this last a month.
and along with a congressman, get a hearing for every state. I know we would delay you a lot, but it would give us the opportunity to get the legislators who are very, very close to pulling their vote.
Can you imagine? Close to pulling their vote? Give me a break. It was like, what was it, 93-6 for Arizona?
After what McConnell did today, it angered them because they have written letters asking that you guys adjourn and send them back the questionable ones, and they'll fix them up. So this phone number, I'm available on all night, and it would be an honor to talk to you. Thank you.
Wow. And so that voicemail, Rudy Giuliani thought he was calling a senator, and I guess he called the wrong senator. Do we know which senator he called? Let's see if it actually says here. Approximately 7 p.m. Called Senator Tuberville. Want to discuss with you. The problem is he left his voicemail on the voicemail of another senator who shared it with the dispatch. It's not clear who it was. Okay. And wow, that is just, I mean, it's a comedy of errors. It's really something else. That's stunning. Big thank you to Spudnik and others who keep just massive dumps of Twitch subs are coming in. An additional 37 just came in, putting us at 72. And I also want to say thanks to folks. If you're signing up on my website, these memberships are accelerating so much. I don't even know that I can name everybody but in person. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 additional people just signed up on my website, which puts us at 82. I really appreciate it. I don't want to gum up the stream by naming everybody, but no, I absolutely appreciate you. Okay. So we're standing by for some kind of an explanation from Capitol Police as to what happened yesterday. Now, I think maybe it makes sense to address this issue of, let me see if I can even find the video. Capitol Police barriers and video. Let me see if there's a particular video I want. Okay. So I'm not taking a position on this because I just don't know the truth of this. There have been assertions made that this video is evidence that the Capitol Police were in on the riotous insurrective coup and that they welcomed the protesters in. And in the video I'm going to play for you here, they sort of like move the barriers and allow everybody in. I'm not ready to say that yet, quite frankly, because there are sort of crowd control realities. Oh, and people are saying it's debunked. There are crowd control realities. And at a certain point, if there's 4 officers and 200 people, they're going to break it down and they may end up hurting you or the crowd in so doing. Okay. So I mean, let's just look at this real quick. But people are saying it's already been debunked.
Police are squabbling with protesters. Oh, there we go.
I mean, listen, I don't think it would be clear there. There's no doubt that there were Trumpist police officers. There's no doubt that there were police officers taking selfies with protesters. But the general idea that the Capitol Police were in on this video doesn't demonstrate it for me. And it would be irresponsible for me to say that that's what this video is evidence of. It is a common thing in crowd control that when you lose the control of a perimeter and you don't have the manpower, you retreat. And so I'm not ready to say one thing or another. I see people are arguing, pointing out these police don't even have riot gear. How are they possibly going to resist 200 people that are forcing their way in? So for me, the problems are there should have been they should have been more prepared for this. And the question of why they weren't more prepared is really the question that I want to have answered. Law enforcement failed yesterday. To say they were part of a plot to do this, I can't say, and I think we should be very careful about making those allegations, but they failed. The rioters overwhelmed them, and the police clearly failed in this particular case. Okay, let me move on to a couple of things. So I wanted to review Tucker Carlson's sort of like monologue yesterday about the riots. I have not seen it yet, so if people want me to review that, I'm glad to do it. There's also a new report that Trump is once again considering a self-pardon. a New York Times article about that. I'll do both. I don't know if people have a strong feeling about which they want to look at first as we wait for a possible statement from the Capitol Police. Do we want to do the Tucker monologue about the riots, or do we want to do the Trump self-pardon? Looks like self-pardon. All right, let's go to the self-pardon first. So now, before people start telling me a self-pardon is illegal or a self-pardon is legal, I'm going to get to that, okay? Let's just look at the article first. Trump is said to have discussed pardoning himself. The discussions occurred in recent weeks. It was not clear whether he has brought it up since he incited supporters to march on the Capitol, where some stormed the site. President Trump has suggested to aides he wants to pardon himself in the final days of his presidency, according to two people with knowledge of the discussions, a move that would mark one of the most extraordinary and untested uses of presidential power in American history. In several conversations since Election Day, Mr. Trump has told advisors he's considering giving himself a pardon, and in other instances asked whether he should and what the effect would be on him legally and politically, according to the two people. It was not clear whether he had broached the topic since he incited a riot, is the way I'm calling it. Mr. Trump has shown signs that his level of interest in pardoning himself goes beyond idle musings. He has long maintained he has the power to pardon himself, and his polling of aides' views is typically a sign that he's preparing to follow through on his aims. He has also become increasingly convinced that his perceived enemies will use the levers of law enforcement to target him after he leaves office. No president has pardoned himself, so the legitimacy of prospective self-clemency has never been tested in the justice system, and legal scholars are divided about whether the courts would recognize it. Okay, that's the bottom line. So everybody, to all of the legal scholars in the chat, yes, a pardon would only apply to federal crimes. That's absolutely true. But for everybody saying Trump obviously can't do it or Trump obviously can do it, the point is it's not actually been tested. It has not been tested. And legal scholars are divided. Some of the arguments are sort of semantic in nature. The idea, some people focus on the word grant. A president may grant pardons, and there's a linguistic argument that grant implies you do it to someone else. Okay. But they agree, this is the important sentence, they agree a presidential self-pardon could create a dangerous new precedent for presidents to unilaterally declare they are above the law and to insulate themselves from being held accountable for any crimes they committed in office. This is really the crux of the implications, okay? And then, by the way, still in the picture is this issue. Trump has considered a range of preemptive pardons for family, including Don Jr., Eric Trump, and Ivanka. For Ivanka's husband, senior White House advisor Jared Kushner, and for close associates like the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. The president has expressed concerns to advisors that a Biden Justice Department might investigate all of them. So very, very important stuff that is going on. And now to you and I, going by the spirit of what it should mean to pardon, we recognize this idea is completely idiotic. A self-pardon. What on earth are you talking about? But legally speaking, legal experts are divided. And what's clear is Trump is very, very scared. There's absolutely no doubt about that. A few other super chats. After all this, if he's not as impeached, can he still run in 2024? Absolutely. Absolutely. They weren't prepared because they anticipated a mostly white crowd. The riot gear tear gas is limited to non-whites, plain and simple. Yeah, listen, I mean, I know you're using sort of more inflammatory language maybe than I would, but can anyone deny that if it were thousands of Antifa or thousands of BLM or whatever, that it would have been handled differently? How can anyone deny that? How can anyone deny that it would not have gone the way it did yesterday? It's inconceivable to me. It is completely inconceivable to me. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg said it is banning Trump indefinitely and for at least until his presidential term is over on the 20th. Yeah, we're covering that on tomorrow's show. The question I have is, says Karen, how is it possible to pardon someone without them being convicted? Yeah, you can do a preemptive pardon. That is a thing. That is a thing. Now, it would only be for crimes committed up until the date of the pardon. You can't say I'm issuing a preemptive pardon that will also go, if you commit a crime in 10 years, my pardon today covers it. That you cannot do. Okay. All right. One other thing. Oh, let's do Tucker. Okay, yeah, let's go to the Tucker Carlson video. This is Tucker Carlson last night. I've not listened to this yet. This is Tucker addressing
all day you've been bombarded with
what went on yesterday.
Images of what has taken place in Washington. Too little time has been spent thinking about why. Anyone who's trying to understand the significance of what's going on right now ought to watch the video of the woman who was shot inside the U.S. Capitol this afternoon. In the footage, which we're not going to show you because it's too upsetting, but you can find it on the internet, the woman is standing in a hallway right off the House floor at the center of the Capitol building. She appears to be in her 20s. She's got an American flag tied around her neck. The scene around her is chaotic. People are bumping into each other, yelling, trying to get through the door into the Senate chamber. Suddenly, with no warning, there is gunfire. You hear a shot, and the woman falls. She's been hit with a bullet. Seems like the neck could be the chest. Apparently, it was fired by someone in law enforcement. People in the hallway scream. The camera closes in on the woman's face. She looks stunned. She is staring straight ahead, unblinking.
Is Tucker turning that woman into a martyr? Is that the gist of this?
Eyes, you can see that she knows she's about to die, which in the end she did. The woman died a couple of hours ago at a local hospital. So what can we learn from this?
Right. Well, so I don't know what lessons he's about to give us, but if you ask me, what can we learn? What we can learn is that every one of us being called alarmist on November 9th, 2016, we were probably not sounding the alarm enough. You had obviously almost all of the right saying you're too worried about what's going to happen under Trump. And remember that there were even these people on the left. And again, to say that they're on the left is weird to me because they're not doing anything that I recognize as progressivism. But there were even people on the left saying Hillary is so far right that there's no difference between Hillary and Trump. Would we have the Supreme Court we have today were it Hillary instead of Trump? Come on. Would Hillary Clinton have incited a riotous insurrection that led to death and injury and destruction of property at the Capitol had she lost? Would Hillary have waged a 2-month war claiming that it was rigged? So it's not just what we learn is all of our worst fears about what Donald Trump might do have come true. And the culmination of that was yesterday. That's my lesson. OK, let's see what Tucker's lesson is.
It's not enough to call it a tragedy. Imagine for a second getting the call and learning that was your daughter. The last time you...
But hold on a second. Does Tucker do these rants when we have, all of the police deaths that we've had? Does Tucker say the focus should be imagine getting a call that your loved one has died? Is that his focus? Because I've not seen that be his focus in those cases.
Spoke to her, she was heading to Washington for a political rally. Now she's dead.
Well, right, but you're skipping over the fact that, oh my God, that's like saying, hey, you know what? I went to the ribbon cutting at the new bakery and then I'm dead. Well, but hold on, what did you do in the interim? What did you? And it's a tragedy that anybody got hurt. It's a tragedy that anybody died. These are people committing crimes. You understand? She's wow.
You'll never talk to her again. Seriously, imagine that. If you have children, it will put you in the right frame of mind. That's what we're watching. And we may be watching a lot more of it in the coming days. Political violence.
Right, but that's because they plan to keep rioting. This is bizarre.
Begets political violence. That is always true. It is an iron law. It never changes. And we have to be against that, no matter who commits the violence or under what pretext.
But is he okay?
Self-interested demagogues assure us the violence is justified or necessary, as they have been assuring us, lying to us for the past 6 months. We have a duty to oppose.
6 months is weird because this is very different. One of the things that I think is being ignored is, you've got these false equivalencies being drawn where you have a group that says, well, Violence by all protesters is bad, and you might end up getting hurt. And that's violence by the George Floyd protesters, and that's violence by these rioters, or whatever the case may be. One of the things that we also have to remember is that this entire insurrection was, number one, based on an imaginary set of facts. It was based on the non-existent theft of an election, and it was fomented by the president. So to even compare this to what we saw over the summer, aside from tactics, numbers, police reaction, the fundamentals, he's saying anybody doing violence and anybody advocating for violence, blah, 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 blah. I'm against all violence as well. But they're ignoring the fact that this was a Trump-incited coup attempt based on a non-existent theft of an election. Wow.
All of this. Not simply because political violence kills other people's children, which it does.
Right.
But because in the end, it doesn't work. No good person will live a happier life because that girl was killed in the hallway of the Capitol today.
That I agree with.
So our only option as a practical matter is to fix what is causing this in the first place. We don't have a choice.
Now, this is where populist rhetoric, this is I've not pre-screened this, so Tucker might be about to say something I agree with or something I don't. But one of the things I've talked about before is how populist rhetoric sounds very similar on the left and right. Middle class, elite suppressing, economic system, et cetera. But then the right-wing populists will say, and so we've got to fix this before Black Lives Matter takes your house and Hispanic immigrants take your jobs, right? So that's the pernicious nature and the duplicitous nature of populist rhetoric, that it sounds pretty good and similar, left and right, and then you'll see dramatically ridiculous solutions. So let's see what his solution is.
You may have nothing in common with the people on the other side of the country. Increasingly, you probably don't, but you're stuck with them. The idea that groups of Americans will somehow break off into separate, peaceful nations of like-minded citizens, that's a fantasy. That will not happen. There is no such thing as a peaceful separation. There never has been, and there won't be. The two hemispheres of this country are inseparably intertwined. They're co-joined twins. Neither can leave without killing the other. So that's the first thing to know. As horrifying as this moment is, we have no option but to make it better, to gut it out. The second thing to consider, and it's related to the first.
Now, what's missing from this is that Trump incited the riot. That seems, it's very easy, it's very easy to put this all together and say, ultimately, we have to get along and we have to seek understanding. But then you're ignoring that Trump incited the riot, and there's one side that is connected to an imaginary set of facts that aren't facts, where an election was stolen and COVID is fake, and right. I mean, so that they're very quick to be faux conciliatory when their side is acutely and solely to blame for what took place.
Is why the woman who was killed today went to the rally in the first place.
Okay, is he going to blame Trump now? If he does, I will be pleased.
We don't know anything about her, but she did not look particularly radical.
Uh-oh.
She bore no resemblance to the angry children we have seen again and again wrecking our cities. Pasty, entitled nihilists dressed in black.
So why'd she go?
Hitting slogans on statues. She didn't look like that. The woman in the Capitol hallway looked pretty much like everyone else.
Huh.
So why was she there
on
a Wednesday?
Right.
Why were any of them there today? We ought to think about that. If you want to fix it, you have to think about that.
Okay, but so he may be alluding to economic circumstances, but they were all right-wingers. If it's just unemployed people who were there, that would be a different analysis.
The only reason this country is rich and successful is because for hundreds of years we have enjoyed a stable political system. And the only reason that system is stable is because it's a democracy. It responds to voters.
Okay.
Democracy is our pressure relief valve. As long as people sincerely believe they can change things by voting.
But why don't they believe that? They don't believe that because Trump told them it was stolen. How? Wow.
They stay calm. They don't storm the Bastille.
Who made them not calm? The people claiming it was stolen.
Don't burst into the House chamber. They talk and they organize and they vote. But the opposite is also true. If people begin to believe that their democracy is fraudulent, if they conclude that...
But where did they come up with that idea?
Voting is a charade, that the system is rigged and it's run in secret by a small group of powerful, dishonest people who are acting...
Oh my God. And don't tell me that it's a small group of powerful Jewish people, because that would just be too much.
...in their own interests, then God knows what could happen. Actually, we do know what could happen. It's happening right now.
Right, but is he going to, does he name Trump in this? I don't know that I can go another 2 minutes. Does he say, and this is all from Trump?
It's happened in countless other countries over countless centuries. And the cycle is always the same because human nature never changes. Listen to us, screams the population. Shut up and do what you're told, reply their leaders. In the face of dissent, the first instinct of illegitimate leadership is to crack down on the population.
But is he But another instinct of illegitimate leadership is to claim they won to try to stay in power.
But crackdowns never make it better. Instead, they always make the country more volatile and more dangerous.
It's also funny because there really was no crackdown yesterday. Like, the police were missing. We're still trying to figure out where law enforcement was, but yesterday was the opposite of a crackdown. Had it been BLM or Antifa doing what we saw yesterday, we would probably have dozens dead.
The people in charge really understand that. They don't want to. They don't care to learn or listen because all of this conversation is a referendum on them and their leadership. So they clamp down harder. Obey, I tell you, obey. This is the Romanov program. It ends badly every single time. But that doesn't mean they won't try it again. Of course they will, because it's their nature. It's how we got here in the first place.
I mean, if he means right-wing people are going to riot again, then yes, it does seem as though they're planning to.
Millions of Americans sincerely believe the last election was fake.
But where did they get that idea? And is it based in fact? And the answers are Trump and no. All right. That's probably all of that I can take at this point in time. I don't know that I can do much more. I see people joining asking, did the press conference already happen? Yeah, it only lasted 1 minute and 42 seconds. So I'll play it again just because people are coming in and out. Okay. It was only 1 minute and 42 seconds from Kayleigh McEnany. So I'm going to play it. And then I have other things. I also have behind the scenes video of Don Jr. Filming Trump watching the start of the riots. So let's just listen real quick. This is earlier. And this is Kayleigh McEnany. I won't pause this time. Okay. I'm really going to keep it at only 1 minute, 42 seconds. I won't pause at all.
I am here to deliver this message on behalf of the entire White House. Let me be clear. The violence we saw yesterday at our nation's Capitol was appalling, reprehensible, and antithetical to the American way. We condemn it, the president and this administration, in the strongest possible terms. It is unacceptable, and those that broke the law should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
I know it's all lies.
I stood here at this podium the day after a historic church burned amid violent riots, and I said this: the First Amendment guarantees the right of the people to peaceably assemble. What we saw last night in Washington and across the country was not that, end quote. Make no mistake, what we saw yesterday afternoon in the halls of our Capitol likewise was not that. We grieve for the loss of life and those injured, and we hold them in our prayers and close to our hearts at this time. We thank our valiant law enforcement officers who are true American heroes. What we saw yesterday was a group of violent rioters undermining the legitimate First Amendment rights of the many thousands who came to peacefully have their voices heard in our nation's capital. Those who violently besieged our Capitol are the opposite of everything this administration stands for.
Right.
The core value of our administration is the idea that all citizens have the right to live in safety, peace, and freedom. Those who are working in this building are working to ensure an orderly transition of power.
Working very hard.
Now it is time for America to unite, to come together, to reject the violence that we have seen. We are one American people under God. Thank you very much.
All right. So yeah, and by the way, I see the super chat about me using the shortcuts on the keyboard to stop the clips instead of flying my mouse around. That's fine. I know that it's the letter K, and I will do that. So yeah, it's $1 a day late and $1 short, as people are pointing out. That was the entire press briefing. No. People asking where's the rest. That's the whole thing. That was the entire press briefing. There's not. This was all that she did. All right. Okay, let's get to the Don Jr. video. Before I do that, I do want to say thanks to the 33 additional Twitch and Twitch Prime subscribers, which puts us at 115. And then I also want to say a very powerful thank you to the 8 additional people that signed up at joinpacman.com. As you may know, not 1,123. We're at 123. As you may know, in all seriousness, the best way to support the work we do is to grab a membership at joinpacman.com. We have a coupon code BETTER21. It's a huge discount. It's not illegal. It's not immoral. Those are just jokes. It's perfectly legal to take the discount, and I would very much appreciate everybody who signs up. Okay, this is a video that has been released. This is Don Jr. This appears to be... It's not clear to me whether this is right after Trump speaks and tells everybody, let's go to the Capitol, or right before. But the crowds are starting to build here, and this is what's going on behind the scenes. This is Don Jr., and you see Trump in the background watching what are building riots. This is right before people are saying, okay.
Thank you all for that. It's actually hard to believe. Unfortunately, there's a road in between the main crowd and then the masses. Love to see them get in closer because it'd be pretty awesome, but this is pretty incredible.
So anyway, yeah, I guess I should be careful because of all the music that's playing, but you'll see that here is Trump, and he just seems very, very, entertained, I guess, he looks at the crowd and all of this other garbage. I mean, it's just all completely and totally toxic. So there's that. I see requests coming in for the Lindsey Graham press conference. I'm glad to look at that. Is that something you guys would be interested in? Lindsey Graham, who's just disgusting, gave a completely sensible speech on the floor of the Senate early this morning. And it's like, it's fine. The guy's a loon. And he said something that sort of made sense because this is the end of everything. But he gave a press conference that I haven't looked at. And all right, let's take a look at it. Let's just look at a little bit of it. Maybe before we do, hold on, let's get to where it actually starts. Here's Lindsay. Before we do that, let me just read a few super chats. I do want to get caught up on a few things people are saying. Oh, look, David, did you see Lindsey Graham's press conference today? Yeah, we're about to look at it. Scoop, Mike Pence has rejected the 25th Amendment. Oh, I want to look at that, though. That seems higher priority. Let me see here. Pence, 25th. Let's see what's breaking there. Pence is said to oppose invoking the 25th Amendment to strip Trump of his duties. Breaking news from the New York Times, filed 2 minutes ago. Okay, this is important. Mike Pence said to oppose invoking 25th Amendment to strip Trump of his duties. Vice President Mike Pence is opposed to a call by Democrats in Congress and some Republicans to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump before his term ends, a person close to the vice president said. It is unclear when Pence will alert Congress of his position, but the decision by Mr. Pence is said to be supported by several Trump cabinet officials. Those officials, a senior Republican said, viewed the effort as likely to add to the current chaos in Washington rather than deter it. See, I disagree with this reasoning. This is sort of like, should we impeach because it might anger people? You have a duty to do what is right and then to deal with the consequences of it. You don't say we won't impeach. There is only one consideration when you determine whether or not to impeach. Did the president do something impeachable? That's it. Did the president do something impeachable? And likewise here, is the president fit to serve? This explanation, the effort is likely to add to the chaos. That's garbage. Okay. Is the president fit to serve? Consider that Donald Trump can't be trusted to post on Twitter. He can't be trusted to post on Facebook. He can't be trusted to post on Instagram. And he's lost all of those privileges, but he has access to nukes. He has access to nukes, even though he's too volatile and untrustworthy to post to Facebook. So this is not a good explanation for me, but it is not surprising. It is not surprising. That's the breaking news. Mike Pence says he opposes invoking the 25th. Okay, let's get to the Senator Lindsey Graham press conference in a second here. Braden says, hold them accountable. Cool, Kaylee. Now do sedition. Oh, and incitement of lawlessness is unprotected speech. That's all true. Vina Gadapali with a strong $50 super chat says, you're awesome. Thank you so much for keeping me sane during these crazy times. Chong Lim says, would you support a Yang ticket in 2024? Listen, Andrew Yang is running for New York City mayor. And as is always my policy, we need to, before I'm willing to talk about 2024, Joe Biden needs to become president. We need to see what happens with Andrew Yang in the New York City mayoral race. We need the 2022 midterms. We need to see what's happening with the Democratic primary. There's no reason for me to get involved in that at this point in time. Okay, let's get to the Lindsey press briefing. I am curious to see what he was asked and what he said. Let's take a look here. Do we want it in real time or do we want it at like 1.25x or 1.5? What do you guys want? Just regular speed? I guess we'll do, let's do regular speed.
Yeah, check and see. Yeah, I don't want to speak if he's speaking. Wait till he gets done. Everybody okay? Everybody make it out all right?
We are going to need him on mic. I'm sure he gets on mic, right? Kind of weird. All right, we'll do 1.25. Playback speed 1.25. Just a slightly sped up Lindsey Graham. Beautiful.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you. There you go. It's all good. All good. So as you can imagine, everybody in politics and at the federal level was asked a lot of questions by people in the media. What was yesterday like? What does it all mean? Rather than doing a bunch of interviews, I thought I'd give my view of what happened yesterday and the way forward for the country, and try to get back to South Carolina and help the transition here. The first thing that stands out to me is how embarrassed and disgusted I am that the United States Capitol will be taken over by domestic terrorists while we're in session.
Okay, I like calling them domestic terrorists. I like that.
From one president to the other, that a band of people who are terrorists, not patriots, literally occupied the floor of the House, drove the Senate out of its chamber. And the question for the country is, how could that happen 20 years after 9/11? September this year will be the 20th anniversary of the attack on our nation.
Right.
It is mind-boggling that such an event could occur. Senator Schumer's call for the Sergeant of Arms of the Senate to resign, I echo that. Anyone in charge of defending the Capitol.
Is that you too? Dear
Anyone
God.
in charge of defending the Capitol failed in their duties. If they would have been in the military, they would have been relieved of their commands and most likely court-martialed. So the first thing that has to happen is to hold those accountable for failing to defend the nation's capital while the Congress was in session.
Fair. But there's probably 1,000 people or more that also need to be arrested.
Why am I worried? It would have been so easy for a terrorist organization to infiltrate this movement. The lone wolf terrorist, I think we've got a pretty good grip on. But political protest in this...
Yes, we know that if the person has brown skin, it's definitely not a lone wolf. The Republican Party has put together a very cohesive standpoint on that.
Country is the heart and soul of who we are. But we haven't been protesting lately. We've been burning down cities. We've been attacking federal courthouses. We've been looting in the name of social justice.
So now he's mostly focused on things other than what happened yesterday.
And now we've occupied the Capitol. This needs to stop. To my Democratic colleagues, I share this.
Again, remember, all that other stuff he mentioned, accurate or not, was not incited by his golf buddy, the president. And so when these guys lump it all together and say we're against all of it, the president was only inciting the stuff from yesterday, and that's his friend.
Disgust and embarrassment and determination to make sure that what happened in our capital never happens again. But you need to speak up when this happens in other places. Lawlessness.
Right, so now that's false logic. He seems to be suggesting if people had spoken up about the George Floyd protests, which, by the way, were almost perfect, not completely, then yesterday wouldn't have happened. But Trump incited yesterday. Is he saying Trump wouldn't have incited yesterday if someone had stopped the George Floyd protests? It's incoherent.
Lawlessness in one place breeds lawlessness everywhere.
I think that's the exact phrase Tucker used.
When one cause resorts to violence and people are not prosecuted, other causes believe maybe this is okay. So the mistake we made is when people tried to destroy the courthouse in Portland.
Even the protesters themselves consider themselves of a different species than the George Floyd protesters, right? Like the idea. So the other thing that's crazy about this is yesterday's criminals essentially see the Floyd BLM Antifa protesters as subhuman. So the idea that the people from yesterday would say, well, you know what? We're going to guide our behavior by what those other protesters did over the summer. They don't consider themselves equivalent to those people. Why would they be looking to them for guidance on behavior?
They weren't prosecuted to the full extent of law.
Give me a break, dude.
When they occupied Seattle, they weren't prosecuted to the full extent of law.
Oh, this is a joke.
When they attacked the acceptance of the nomination by President Trump here in D.C., virtually no one was prosecuted. It's good to hear everybody wanting prosecutions.
Okay.
Some are late to the dance. I was there from day one. So let's reset and move forward until every political movement out there, no matter how just your cause in your own mind, using violence will not advance your cause. It will only lead to your personal incarceration, or if you go too far, to injury.
So listen, on this issue, I believe I have actually been consistent for a decade, which has been, I am not only opposed to the violence morally, I also believe it's counterproductive. This was a debate between Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. They had different views on this. And I have an entire interview on my YouTube channel with a professor about that, a scholar of both Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. I've been consistent on this from day one. And with the George Floyd protests, I was against the violence. And you guys know that. What these guys do is when it's the George Floyd, Antifa, whatever, even if it's 99% peaceful, they say violent leftists, Antifa, etc. When it's undeniable that it's their side, they retreat to, we need to come together and we're against all violence. Or blah, 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 blah.
So what am I calling for? I'm calling for a joint task force to be assembled.
Oh, now we need a task force.
And spend all the time and money necessary to identify every person who breached the security of the Capitol.
I agree.
Who occupied the chambers.
Yes.
Who invaded offices and destroyed property. There's a ton of video evidence out there. I was interviewed this morning by 2 FBI agents. They came to my house wanting to know if I had any surveillance cameras outside my house. I did not, but I'm encouraged they're on the case. Trust me, in the social media world that exists today, won't be that hard to find thousands of people who took the law in their own hands. The people sitting in the chairs need to be sitting in a jail cell. The people who attacked the Capitol Police.
You know, he has some responsibility for this in the sense that he's one of the people who has often egged on Trump, not specifically, I'm saying about yesterday, but Trump, he has emboldened Trump into thinking, into getting Trump to think that he is a good decision maker, that he should trust his instincts, which are terrible, and on and on and on. And he's very, very late to the game here.
Need to be charged with attacking a police officer. Sedition may be a charge for some of these people.
Trump.
So I will, for the next 6 years, God willing, every week ask of the Department of Justice, starting with this Department of Justice and the next Department of Justice, what kind of progress are you making in holding those accountable, the domestic terrorists who took over the House and the Senate chambers?
I hope he does.
And laid waste.
I don't believe it, but I hope he does.
What do you need that you don't have? If you need more prosecutors, money will not be an object. If you need more investigators, we'll provide you the resources. This is a moment for the nation to show will and determination.
So far, I mean, listen, The real headline yesterday is that Trump incited the mob and that it was all motivated by false claims of election theft. That's the top line. This would be like, you look at an article and, you've got your headline and you've got your subheadline and then you've got kind of like the main point. This would be like Lindsay saying, hey, I'm going to issue a really important statement about what happened and talking about like this, Imagine if I was like, hey, guys, let's talk about Trump pardoning himself. And then all I tell you is Mueller outlined 10 instances where Trump might have obstructed justice. That's the story. Well, hold on. What about this? What about this? What about this? That's what Lindsey Graham is doing here, where the main thing is this all started because Trump has been claiming for 2 months that he really won, which he didn't. And then yesterday he incited a mob that did exactly what he said, which is go to the Capitol down Pennsylvania Ave. That's missing so far.
Be a nation of laws, that anarchy shall not reign, the Constitution controls, not the mob. Yesterday, I was proud of Senator McConnell, the Republican leader of the Senate, who stood up and called for a peaceful transfer of power to Vice President Biden and Kamala Harris. Like Senator McConnell, I supported President Trump. I've become close to the president personally.
We know.
I think his president has been consequential from a conservative point of view. It has been an amazing 4 years in terms of judges, securing the border.
Oh, my God.
Vaccine in record time.
Vaccine has nothing to do with him.
Economy, cutting taxes, historic Mideast peace agreements.
So now he goes off the rails. We could do either one of those, like historic Mideast peace agreements, agreements between countries that had already reestablished diplomatic relationships. Peace agreement. What are you talking about, dude?
The destruction of the caliphate, on and on and on, was tarnished by yesterday. When it comes to accountability, the president needs to understand that his actions were the problem, not the solution.
Ah, okay. That's good. That I like.
That the rally yesterday was unseemly, it got out of hand, and a good friend of mine, Rudy Giuliani, did not help.
Perfect.
I said on the floor of the Senate, I cast my vote accordingly, that Joe Biden is the legitimate president-elect of the United States.
We know.
Are there irregularities in this election? Yes, I'm sure they are. Have they been overblown? Absolutely. There's been a constant effort by people from the president's legal team to provide misinformation, to distort the facts, to make accusations that cannot be proven. That needs to stop. As to the 25th Amendment being invoked, I do not believe that's appropriate at this point. I'm looking for a peaceful transfer of power. I'm looking for the next 14 days to reset, and we will hand off power in a traditional sense by being a peaceful transfer. I talked to Mark Meadows this morning. The transition is going well.
What does that mean? Could there be a more meaningless statement because it's so vague? The transition is going well. Really? Did you see the video?
Fully in place. I talked to the president's legal counsel, Pat Cipollone. He is doing everything he can to help the transfer occur. As to these two gentlemen, most Americans will never know the service that Mark Meadows and Pat Cipollone and those under their charge.
They have been some of the worst enablers of Donald Trump of this entire presidency. The idea of praising Mark Meadows and Pat Cipollone is inconceivable to me.
Provided to this country over the last year. Talked to Secretary Mnuchin today, who's in Israel. No one will fully understand what he and others have brought to the table. So to those who believe you should leave your post now to make a statement, I would urge you not. To Robert O'Brien, you've been getting a good counsel to the president.
So I'm getting ready to kind of wind down. I don't know if people want the full 45 minutes of this, but I'm getting the gist of what he's saying, which is some light criticism of Trump, but mostly saying Trump's great and kind of talking about other protests. I'm kind of getting a gist. I don't know how long we need to stay with it.
You've been a steady hand. I've been missing your phone calls. Robert, stay on. To those in the national security apparatus, we need you now more than ever. So I embrace.
Oh, okay. People are saying when he takes questions, it changes. Let me get to that. Do we know exactly when that is? It looks like it's here. Let's take a listen.
Move forward. To my Democratic colleagues, I ask the same of you. Then I'll take questions.
Senator Graham, you were one of President Trump's biggest critics during the 2016 election. Then you became one of his biggest supporters. Do you have any regrets in your support of him and what this has led to at this moment?
No. I was a opponent of President Trump, and I got beat like a drum. I didn't scratch. I had a decision to make.
Surprising he's not saying I got beat like a dog, as Donald Trump says.
I said everything I could think about regarding him as a candidate. The people of South Carolina spoke. He won my state and he became president of the United States. So I decided then, it's not about me, it's about my job as being a senator from South Carolina. People from South Carolina wanted me to work with this president, and I did. I did the same with Obama. I'll do the same with Biden.
I like that. Obama.
But this is a Republican president. He changed my opinion of who he was through his actions.
Mine too.
And help incite a mob
Yeah,
riot.
just let me get there. The reason I've been close to the president is I think he's done tremendous things for this country. I think the judges he has nominated have been outstanding choices, and we saw yesterday an independent judiciary. I think people like Bill Barr were the best people in the country to be attorney general at the time they were.
So I think that this happened hours before Bill Barr said Trump betrayed the country.
I think what he did to destroy the caliphate was long overdue. It makes it safer. I think getting out of the Iran nuclear agreement has led the way to peace between the Arabs and the Israelis at a level I would have never imagined. I think he's brought order to the border.
What?
He listened to me. He asked my advice about judges. When I got upset about Syria, he listened, and he actually changed his policies. I could never get Obama to do that.
Obama
had a good relationship with him, but with Senator McCain, we begged him, do not leave Iraq.
Well, the reason you could, so Trump's an idiot. That's why you're able to convince. That's so funny. He's like, you know, for some reason, I was able to convince Trump to do stuff and not Barack Obama. I don't know. It's just, that's, I would consider that praise of Obama.
But he did. As to yesterday, it breaks my heart that my friend, a president of a consequence, would allow yesterday to happen. And it will be a major part of his presidency. It was a self-inflicted wound.
True.
It was going too far. And here's the one thing I can say. The next 2 weeks can begin to right the ship depending on how the president behaves. And over time, his presidency will be viewed in a fuller context. I have absolutely no regrets of helping this president make us safer, more prosperous.
So you're disgusting.
My
I got it.
relationship with him. I say these things not because of animosity. I say these things because I have to.
But Senator Graham,
We'll do one more.
after being so close to this president for 4 years, do you think that you and other Republicans had more of a responsibility to speak out, both privately and publicly, when he said things that were untrue, when he ginned up his base? Do you think that that would have made a difference yesterday?
I think the Trump presidency has been poorly covered by people in your business. I think that from the time he took office.
Do you have any responsibility because you didn't dissuade Trump from this stuff? I think you're the problem, media.
There's been an effort to cover his presidency in a way that I think is not helpful to the country. I have spoken up.
The coverage of Trump isn't helpful. But what about Trump? Has Trump been helpful?
There's been an effort to believe everything that Trump did was wrong before it's proven or not. All I can say is that I have shared my thoughts with the president. I've spoken out when I thought I should. But the one thing that I want you to know, there are plenty of Republicans believe that the Trump presidency was never legitimate in the eyes of the Democratic Party, never accepted by the people in your business.
That's really not true. It's crazy not to mention. So he's doing an entire press conference about violence that was caused fundamentally because of the false notion that the election was stolen from Donald Trump. And he falsely says the media and Democrats never accepted that Trump was president. What? All right. So we're going to get away from that. I'm going to open the phone lines in a moment, but I did want to mention this. Simon and Schuster. Where did that go? Hold on a second. Simon and Schuster has canceled plans for Josh Hawley's book. The publisher faced calls to drop the Missouri Republican's upcoming book, The Tyranny of Big Tech, following criticism of his efforts to overturn the presidential election. This is what you call the free market, my friends. This is what you call the free market. Josh Hawley, arguably the most prominent senator, the first senator who said that he would be objecting to the election results being counted, and he was going to be writing a book for Simon & Schuster. Simon & Schuster has canceled it. This is not censorship. This is nothing other than the free market. Simon & Schuster is a for-profit company. They've determined they don't want the profit that they would or would not be able to get. So that's all that is. And then lastly, I'm told that there is an AOC tweet that just went out. I don't know what this is. Is there an election? Yeah, I don't know that this is that relevant to this stream. Okay. So that is that. All right. Let me say a huge thank you to the 18 additional Twitch subscribers, 18, which puts us at 141. And also a big thank you to the 13 people who just signed up at joinpacman.com, which puts us at 154. So let's open some phone lines. Remember that we will be streaming all sorts of things leading up to and including the inauguration of Joseph R. Biden Jr. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Our subscribe button has actually been broken for 24 hours. So many people subscribed yesterday during the insanity of this riotous insurrectionist coup that the subscribe button essentially broke, where YouTube said, we've got to verify these subscriptions one at a time because we want to make sure bots are not being used. And if you're watching on Twitch, also make sure to give us a follow so you're notified in the future. Let's hear from some folks. You can get a hold of me via Discord, davidpacman.com/Discord, and get into the waiting lobby. Very, very easy. davidpacman.com/Discord. Get into the waiting lobby. Let's see what is on people's minds. We'll just check in with a few people here. Let's go to Paul from the Bronx. Paul from the Bronx, you're on the air. Paul from the Bronx, please unmute yourself and you will be able to talk to me.
Oh, I did not expect to get called up that fast.
I didn't either, to be honest. It surprised me.
Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. So there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah. I just literally just joined the call. I did not expect to get pulled in. My apologies about that. I just want to talk about and excuse my language, the absolute shit show that happened yesterday. I'm not sure what else could be said about it. It was supposed to be a humdrum process,
Ceremonial, exactly.
Yeah, it's supposed to just be like Pence is over there just handing the tellers everything. And, the objections is what really bothered me, mostly because of what everybody was trying to cite. They were effectively trying to cite that the federal government should have been able to interfere with the state-based constitutions. And I'm just there like, but that's not what you're here for.
Right.
You're only here for just to confirm what the state sent in. Like anything besides that, you guys are just monkeying up. And to make matters worse, it wasn't like, I was actually kind of shocked that the Senate didn't pass any. It was just the House representatives and the Republican side. Like they just wanted to go ahead and just, stomp their feet and make a bunch of noise. That's the only thing. That's the only reason why it dragged on from, 9 o'clock till 4 a.m. in the morning when they finally finished.
Of course, it never had a chance of achieving anything. They were citing objections that are not even within their purview to analyze. You're absolutely right. And that, I think, was lost on a lot of people, that even this idea of whether they should or shouldn't object, they were objecting on grounds that have nothing to do with their role.
Exactly. Like one of them was citing like the error rate of the state, and I'm just there like, that's not you.
Right. The state's certified already. Period.
Right. And even now, there's still some people that's still trying to go back and say, oh, well, we have a way to detect the ballots. And I'm like, okay, if you guys determine it, you guys know you missed the federal deadline.
Right.
So there's nothing else that can be done. A set of electors have already been duly chosen.
Right.
It's over. And
yes,
the insurrection that happened yesterday too also exacerbated things. Like in a way, it helped. Like it kind of put some senators in a place like, I can't back your play anymore. Like Kelly Loeffler, she backed off. Going on ahead and objecting.
I actually think, I think it's, even though it took till 3-4 a.m., if they had objected in 6 states and had 2 hours of debate in each of them, it would have taken that long anyway. Like in a sense, the insurrection delayed, but it also eliminated a bunch of the objections. And in the end, the certification happened roughly when it was going to anyway.
Exactly. Even if you include all the time.
Yeah.
It was this whole entire thing was just an exercise in, I just want to be the contrarian and I want to show everybody I'm on Donald Trump's side. All of this is just to feed into 2022, 2023, when the next set of elections are being held for the House.
Yeah, it was essentially right-wing virtue signaling.
Exactly. That's all that was. It was an exercise of virtue signaling.
All right, my friend, I appreciate it. By the way, it sounds like there's a bell ringing in the background. Do you hear that?
It might be. It just might be because this new PC that I have going off or my cell phone's ringing off. I literally just have my mic set up. I didn't even check everything to see if it worked.
Oh, I gotcha. No, well, I appreciate you calling in.
No problem, sir. Thank you.
All right, take care. Very, very strong call there from the Bronx, New York. Let's go next to... there are so many people that have been trying to call in from Germany. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them. It's just there's actually a bunch of people holding. But let's just try Dominic from Germany if we can.
So I actually did not expect to speak here, but first of all, big fan.
Thank you
for listening. So yeah, Jess, just saw live stream from the whole thing which happened there in the capital, and I was actually quite shocked, especially here in Germany. We have a own fair share of fascist history, and it was really scary to see that.
Yes.
So my question is basically, Biden needs to do so many things at once. He needs to satisfy all the aggressives us with very important topics like climate change and all of that. At the same time, he needs to basically go against all of the Trump supporters and basically convince them what's real, how you can actually govern this country. And at the same time, he needs to satisfy all the moderate Republicans and Democrats. And how do you think he's able to do that, or is there any way how he can maybe achieve that?
There is no way, and I don't even think he should try. There's no way, and he shouldn't even try. I think it's fine for Joe Biden to say, I look forward to working with Republicans. I will be the president for everybody. I think that that's all great. But it would be completely naive to think that these hyper-obstructionist Republicans are all of a sudden going to help him do anything. Now, if Republicans believe it will be good for them, they might go with an infrastructure plan that includes some sustainable shifts in energy, for example, if it'll create jobs in their states, if they think it's good for them. If they think that $2,000 stimulus checks will be good for them, they may go along with it, right? But no, he's not going to be able to satisfy anybody. He shouldn't even try.
Yeah, okay. So thank you very much for my question.
My pleasure. Dominic from Germany, great to hear from you. Let's see. Why don't we go next to, let's go to Vitali from Israel. What is it? 2:30 in the morning there, Vitali?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thanks. It's 1:45 now.
Wow, that's a strong time.
Yeah, well, the pandemic kind of messed up my sleep schedule.
Is that right? How so?
Well, I got unemployed recently, and just because I don't have a normal schedule to the day, I cannot sleep normal.
I see. Have you been vaccinated?
Not as of yet. I only got convinced my mother to do it next week.
Okay.
Glad I managed to do it because she got scared because of the internet, obviously.
Yeah. And just one last question. What part of Israel are you in?
The north.
The north?
City of.
Did you say Haifa?
Yes.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, I've been to Haifa. I went to the Baha'i Gardens, of course, very touristy, I'm sure. My cousin graduated from Haifa University. Beautiful part of the country.
Yes. It's one of the most pastoral mountain cities in Israel.
Well, I've said enough. What can I do for you today?
Yeah, I was just wanted to express my feelings about yesterday and today about the state of United States and our relationship with the United States. Most Israelis seen Trump as a good president for Israel. But they seen it because of the very short-term effects, right? Especially when in relation to the Palestinian-Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Now, as far as that goes, did anybody believe Jared Kushner was really going to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
No.
Good.
They did not. But they thought that might bring a better deal. And the Trump deal was seen pretty favorably by most people here.
Right.
Although it's obvious nobody will ever agree to it on the other side, and it will never be enforced in any way.
Of course.
And the thing is that the way I see it, Israel doesn't need an ally in the United States that it just does whatever Israel wants. It needs a healthy ally.
Right.
A healthy democracy that is sustainable and is not fickle. Because, well, it will take like very little for Trump to just shift. Like, it would be enough for Bibi Netanyahu, to say something that would upset Trump, and the whole thing would come apart.
Sure. And in any case, Trump has 13 days left, so we're moving beyond that.
Yes, but yesterday got me sick and actually scared to my stomach because of what the implications to American democracy it might mean.
Yeah, no, you and me both.
Yes, and I just wanted to express that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate the call. Okay, very good. Vitaly is gone. Let's see who else we want to talk to via Discord at davidpakman.com/Discord. We've really gone around the world. Oh, you know who I want to check in with? I want to check in with Liberal Cluck. Hey, did you end up at the insurrection yesterday?
I did, but I unfortunately couldn't stream it. My data started crapping out on me.
Well, listen, what did you see anything notable? What was the wackiest thing you saw?
Well, wacky. Oh my gosh. Like people dressed up in military garb and stuff. Sometimes I had trouble
But not they weren't I'm guessing they weren't the military though.
Yeah, they were. I would have trouble like deciphering between like who was cops and who was Trump supporters sometimes. I actually followed one guy thinking he was a cop, and I was going to ask him a question, and then it turned out to be a Trump supporter.
Now, did you see people? Did you see the rioters? Did you see them carrying firearms?
I actually didn't see any open carrying of firearms. I know for a fact they were there. But like I said, I'm sure they were there. I wasn't looking for that. I was like keeping my phone, trying to keep my phone above the crowd.
I mean, I think it would be. I don't think people would. I don't think people would really be open carrying because I don't think these out-of-staters would legally be allowed to do that in D.C. But I guess I'm wondering if you saw somebody with a firearm that maybe they were not trying to make it clear that they were carrying. I don't know.
Oh no, I didn't. But like I said, I wasn't looking for that. And
yeah, fair.
I'm sure they were there.
Fair.
So there is a couple things I would like to point out about what I did see. First of all, if anyone has any of these lunatics in their family that thinks this was Antifa, I want you to ask them. So I got on tape the second time that that they were trying to push through the guards to get into the Capitol.
Yeah.
And I want you to ask them. If that was Antifa trying to do that, then why was the thousands of Trump supporters in the crowd cheering them on, saying things like heave, ho, heave, ho?
Right. In other words, so you're saying that even if it were true that everybody who physically did something was Antifa, that the entire crowd of Trumpists was cheering it on.
They sure were. Yes, they were. There were some exceptions. The guy next to me actually said something to the effect of, I want to support this, but that would be like supporting Antifa or something like that.
Right.
Which, I appreciate the consistency at least.
Sure.
Some other things that I saw during that second push, that was the one that I was up top for, so I was able to like really see. The people like scaling the walls.
Yeah.
To get down to the crowd, which was like, does this guy even care if he lives or dies? Guys trying to like hit the police with sticks.
Really? Just like sticks they picked up off the ground?
Yeah, well, I guess they brought like large batons, and he was like on top of the crowd trying to like javel his way into the cops. He was like literally trying to hit them with sticks. There was another guy who was like kicking the cops from like the top of the doorway, and pepper spray. Somebody brought pepper spray, sprayed it over top of the crowd into the cops.
And by the way, the people that were like scaling the wall, were there not stairs available? Was that necessary?
I couldn't find a legit way to get up there. I wanted to get up there just to see what was going on. I ended up there was like scaffolding on the sides, which I guess was put there for the like speakers for people to stand on when they were speakers.
Yeah.
And they were just so packed full, like the legitimate ways. They were just so packed full of people trying to get through up and down that I actually ended up just climbing the poles of the scaffolding to get up to the top so I can get a good vantage point.
Really? Now, do you think you committed any crimes yesterday?
I did not. Everywhere that I went was like legit, like where people should have been. At least I believe they were.
Okay.
If I committed any crimes, it certainly wasn't intentional.
Okay, well then we know any unintentional crimes, those aren't really crimes.
Yeah, that's true. I just got there by like weird methods.
Yeah. Climbing the scaffolding, I don't know if that's allowed.
I assumed it was for people to stand on so that they can like watch the speaker or something. That's what it looked like.
Oh, you mean like the stanchions? Oh! I thought you were okay. I misunderstood when you said climb the scaffolding. I thought you meant like the scaffolding that's behind the stage that's used to like put lighting up on and like that. Clearly, I think you weren't supposed to be on.
Oh wait, maybe I did do something. Maybe that's what that was for.
You may have committed crimes. Sure. Yeah, you may have committed crimes.
Oh no. Oh gosh, it wasn't intentional, I promise.
Well, listen, at least you're on here as Liberal Cluck, so nobody knows your name.
That is true. Yeah.
You mean bleachers, bleachers, right? That's what you meant.
That's what I meant. Yes, I was on the bleachers.
Perfect,
sure.
perfect.
I'm not about to upload a video that contradicts that at all.
Sure.
So don't go onto my channel to look for that.
All right, good. And then just one last thing. Was it notable that there were just like not nearly enough law enforcement people around?
Definitely. Oh my gosh. I when I got there, I was just like, well, first of all, when I got there, I heard one of the trumpets say that the police are leaving. This was after the first like break-in.
Yeah.
And then I got there and I was just like, this is crazy. There was like a bunch of them standing on top, and they looked bored as like there was as there were people down at the doorway was like trying to keep a large crowd of people from getting in.
And hey, listen, this is not, I don't want you to be indiscreet with this, but you know, when there's this number of people around for 8 hours, I mean, where were people going to the bathroom? Were they walking away and going to Starbucks in the middle of the insurrection, or was it becoming a vile, disgusting situation?
I did not smell any bodily fluids. I know myself, I just held it the entire time.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't smell it. They had to have had bathroom set up. I didn't even think about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know.
They had to have bathroom set up. Yeah.
Let's hope nobody left any gifts in Nancy's desk, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Well, listen, I really appreciate the report.
All right, not a problem. I appreciate you having me on.
All right.
I also appreciate you letting me plug the other day. I got a buttload of people that followed me on Twitter and everything from that, so thank you.
All right. Yes, it's Liberal Cluck. Thank you very much. Appreciate the call. Wow, really a lot going on there. Oh, you know who's... Let's go to our friend Matilda from Sweden. We've spoken before, right, Matilda?
Yes, we have.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Now, let me see if I can remember. Did you say you're in Uppsala?
Yes.
You are? Oh, I do. I remember. Beautiful. I remember exactly then.
Yeah.
Well, what's going on today?
You remember?
I do.
I thought we could talk a bit about the police and why they didn't apprehend or they weren't a lot of police there, right?
Yeah.
And so the crowd took over and did all the things that they did.
Right.
And I was thinking, because we have the same problem here in Sweden, actually, with the right wing not being taken seriously by the police.
Right.
And I agree with you. You said you didn't think that it was a conspiracy or that it was orchestrated by the police.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying there are some alleging that, but I am not saying that.
Yeah, I agree with you that sounds, or that's not something that sounds like it's true.
Okay.
But I think that problem is something that's a problem in many different countries.
Right.
The police don't take right-wing extremists seriously.
Sure.
If you know what I mean. And we have had the same problem here with protests that has escalated, and it is a problem.
Understood.
Yeah.
All right.
So
well,
what do you think about that?
yes, I mean it is a problem. It is a problem, and you know, we sometimes we joke, but we are often not joking that if the protesters had mostly been a different skin color, that everything would have been different. If it was an anticipated Antifa Black Lives Matter protest, the preparations would have been different. And, you know, a lot of businesses did board up. The businesses seemed to know what was coming, but we still just don't know enough about why the police response was what it was. We just don't know yet.
No, we need more information.
Absolutely.
But do you think that the FBI knew that something was going to happen?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you could argue maybe they didn't know the exact scope, but they had to know to some degree.
Yeah, because there were some groups that were like organized and
in all seriousness, the FBI, if you can help the FBI identify some of the individuals in the videos and pictures, please contact your local FBI office or the one in Washington, D.C., because there need to be repercussions. These people need to be arrested and charged.
Yes.
All right, Matilda. Well, you've said it all. Anything important happening in Sweden I should know about?
COVID rages on here.
Yeah.
There's chaos in at the hospitals, and the healthcare workers are they're crashing right now.
How are elements of vaccination moving forward? Are they available?
They are starting with the elderly.
Okay.
So they are going around to different kinds of elderly homes and vaccinate those people first.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
All right, Matilda, thank you. You're not depressed, are you? You sound a little down today.
I'm not depressed. It's nearly 1 a.m.
Oh, okay. Oh, my goodness. Well, I don't want to keep you then.
So I'm a little bit tired. But
Fair.
I can't sleep, so that's why I wanted to call.
Well, listen, it's great speaking to you again.
Yeah.
All right. Matilda from Sweden, thank you so much. Hope to hear from you again. Let's go to Linus from Texas. Linus from Texas, you're on the air. Linus from Texas, please unmute, and I would love to talk to you. And Linus from Texas, last opportunity. And Linus is gone. Missing the opportunity. Okay, why don't we go to... There are a lot... I'm just being very transparent. There's a lot of people waiting to get on right now. Let's go to Larry from Glasgow.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, David. I'm fine. How are you doing?
You know, I've noticed that with the chat audience, they seem to love phone calls from Scotland for whatever reason.
Oh, that's pretty good. I didn't actually expect to get on today, but you know, it's pretty good. Yeah. So I suppose my question is, what do you think the impact of like the Capitol Hill riots and even just like the end of Trump's presidency?
Yeah.
What do you think what effect that could actually have on places in Europe, or even like the UK, or even specifically Scotland, if like you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be generally just a slow renormalization of these relationships that have become a laughingstock under Trump. You know, it's not even about foreign policy at this point. It's not about what is going to be Joe Biden's policy towards Scotland or whatever.
Yeah.
It's really just about, can we get back to something that's more normal? Can the U.S. be marginally more respected globally? And I think I actually think it'll happen relatively quickly. I don't think it'll take that long, because I think there's an eagerness from many of our historical allies to restore a sense of normalcy. So I think it'll actually happen relatively quickly.
Yeah, hopefully. I was rather concerned with the whole Brexit stuff and how that would affect trade between the US and the UK. But, you know, overall, I'm pretty happy that Biden is going to be president, and I wish our country like the best of luck. And, you know, from like Europe, this is kind of an embarrassment to see the United States in this kind of state. But you know what? Frick it, you know what I mean? We'll get through it.
Right. I hope that you're right. Listen, I'm curious, are you originally from Southern Scotland?
Well, I don't actually think so. I'm from like kind of central to Western Scotland.
Interesting. The only reason I ask is we had a Scottish caller yesterday who had a different Scottish accent than you and indicated there are different Scottish accents. So I was just
totally,
wondering.
Yeah. So like Glasgow, especially doesn't say ken. So when I say I know something, I'll say I know it. But if someone from Edinburgh or Aberdeen says they know something, they'll say, oh, you know, ken what I mean, like, eh? But I'll say, oh yeah, I know this or I know that. You know, different dialects.
And let me ask you this: the room that's down below the first floor, do you call that the basement or the cellar?
Well, I'm particularly Americanized because I've spent a long time consuming American culture.
Okay.
So I call it the basement.
You do.
And I'm pretty sure people in my family would call it a basement, but, you know, I'm pretty sure it's kind of variated between people, you know, cellar, basement, you know. We call like loft the attic or the attic the loft, you know what I mean? So we kind of have different words for that, I suppose.
Wait, you call the basement a loft?
Oh, sorry, I should clarify. We call the basement like, we'll call that basement, but we'll call the attic a loft.
Oh, the attic a loft. Oh, that makes sense to me. Yeah. And as far as the carbonated beverages, do you call them soda, pop, Coke? What do you call it?
So what I call them personally, from where I grew up, is called ginger, right? And that's basically that kind of. I think that comes from.
Wait a second. Hold on a second. You call every soda a Coke ginger?
So we don't call every soda like a Coke ginger. What we'll call it is we'll call every like soda, or what you guys would like call soda or pop, we call that ginger, or fizzy juice or something like that. That usually comes from Iron Brew, which is an orange juice, and we refer to orange as ginger in Scotland.
Hold on a second. Wait. Whoa, hold on. We're gonna have to back up. You're saying some people call every soda Coke ginger, but you mean orange juice by Coke? What?
So I should clarify. So no one in Scotland calls it Coke ginger. All right.
What is Coke ginger? Is that a ginger flavored Coke?
Coke ginger doesn't exist, but that would probably be that'd be pretty cool. But ginger overall is like how we encompass fizzy juice or pop or soda. Coke, we'll just call that like Coke, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, you know, every day. Iron Brew is, I think, where the term ginger, when referring to fizzy juice, comes from. I think that's specifically where it comes from, but I could be wrong.
Are you saying fizzy or fuzzy?
Fizzy. So you know how like carbonated juice with the bubbles?
Yeah, I know all about carbonation. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we refer to that as like fizz, okay, because it makes a fizzy sound. So yeah, exactly. So we associate that fizzy juice, ginger, stuff like that.
But let me see if I can. I really want to get an answer here to the question I'm trying to ask, which is, are you familiar with the beverage Sprite?
Yes.
Okay. The category, is Sprite a soda? Is it a pop? Is it a Coke? What is the category under which you would put Sprite?
I would call it like fizzy, I suppose, or like a ginger. I would just call it ginger, right?
Ginger.
I don't know what anyone else would call it. I think we just use it interchangeably. Like I don't know if we differentiate between like pop or soda or fizzy juice or anything like that. We just kind of like throw it into the one kind of category and then just call it ginger, I suppose.
And are you? I want to make sure you're when you say. Are you saying the word that's spelled Ginger? That's the word.
Yes. So ginger hair That's how we refer to it, I suppose. So like,
my mind is blown. I'm not gonna lie, my mind is blown by this.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah,
that's unbelievable. That's okay. All right, good. Well, listen, let's clip that, and I really appreciate the call.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me.
Pleasure. Please clip it, meme it, remix it. Clip, meme, remix. We need that. We need that on the subreddit. We need that on we need that on DGG. We need I need to go and learn. I clearly am lacking very important information. Very important information. Oh, this is our first caller ever from a beautiful city, the city of Montevideo in Uruguay. A user who apparently goes by the name Grisho, which means grasshopper. You're on the air. Oh, and we're on a delay. Oh, boy.
A ver, tal vez, no sé si estoy muteado.
¿Estás acá?
Perfecto, buenísimo. ¿Hablar en español está bien, David?
Sí, le explico al público. So, we have someone here from the country of Uruguay. In Uruguay, they speak very similar Spanish to in Buenos Aires. It's called Rio Platense Spanish. So our friend Grisho is going to be asking his question in Spanish. I will then translate and answer in English. Bueno, adelante.
Cómo no, más vale. Además de paso, soy en realidad originalmente de Argentina. Soy de la Patagonia Argentina, así que hablamos el mismo idioma.
Perfecto.
No, en realidad mi pregunta era sobre esto que está pasando con la salida de Trump de poder de Estados Unidos y cómo el trumpismo durante estos años se extendió por toda Latinoamérica. En sí ¿vos creés que esta salida de Trump va a generar como, no sé, bajar las revoluciones, por así decirlo, al trumpismo que hay en Latinoamérica, o es más parecido a una semilla que va a empezar a llevar esta derecha fuerte a los diferentes países?
Perfecto. Okay, so the question is a great one, which is the departure of Trump going to have the effect of a downfall of these type of Trumpian right populist authoritarian types, or is the downfall and departure of Trump going to actually serve as a seed, to make a literal translation from what our friend said, and we will actually see it grow? I believe that in the immediate, we are going to see a boost. I think that Trump leaving. So listen, you and I and many in the audience, we see what happened yesterday. And we see that as a humiliating failure. We see it as embarrassing. It was a disaster. But we know from the work that the Anti-Defamation League and others are doing that many of the insurrectionists see yesterday as a success. And so when they see that those actions, they count those riots as a success, but they see Trump leaving and they're angry and they believe it was rigged, I think in the immediate, you will see a boost in Trumpism type stuff around the world. And then in the medium and long term, I don't know. I hope there's a decline, but I think it's too soon to tell.
Sí, creo que sí. No sé si viste el video de los trumpistas en Japón que se hizo viral el día de hoy.
No.
Ah, ok. Pegale una revisada. Hay gente ahí en Japón haciendo una marcha pro-Trump, básicamente. Y estoy enterado que también en Buenos Aires y en Córdoba, que son como los dos lados más de derecha, por así decirlo, en Argentina, también se están organizando.
Encontré el video, se lo voy a mostrar al público ahora.
Excelente, una masa.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias.
No, por favor, un saludo grande. Te vemos acá con mi novia desde Montevideo. Te encontramos hace un par de meses y nos encanta tu show. Muchas gracias a vos.
Igualmente. Saludos. Okay, wow. What a call. So what that gentleman said, who is originally from Argentina but now lives in Uruguay, is that there were Trump supporters marching in Tokyo. Let's just take a look at that. Wow, that's depressing, huh? It almost seems like a kind of performance art, but that is what a time to be alive. That is insane, absolutely insane. Okay, let me go next to. Let's go to Dave from Tampa, Florida. Dave from Tampa, you're on. Dave from Tampa, you're on the air.
Oh my God.
Dave from Tampa, you're on the air.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Dave, go ahead. You're on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh my God. Okay, fantastic. I'm sorry about that. It's my first time ever using Discord, so I'm a noob. So my degree is in news journalism. I spent a few years as a journalist before realizing that I could parlay my IT skills into something far more profitable, and now I regret it.
Okay.
And what I'm wondering is, my fear is that the biggest flaw in living in a democracy is that we live in a democracy and we're free to disseminate disinformation and be just basically lie about what we want people to believe.
This is it. You have a Socratic view of democracy. You're not so big on it in many ways because of the problems with it.
Yeah, it's inherently open and easily manipulated and broken.
Right.
And I think that the only thing that's going to fix the problem that we have is the fact that we need to do something about right-wing media. We need to basically get rid of Fox News, OAN, Newsmax, Breitbart, all the purveyors of lies and misinformation that currently exist. But what I'm saying kind of sounds like Stalinism.
Right. I mean, I was going to say, how do you do it? You make it illegal to be Fox News?
I have no clue how to go forward. What I do know is that we wouldn't be in the dire circumstances that we're currently in if it wasn't for the fact that all of these people have an echo chamber in which to retreat where they can deny reality and pretend that their way is the righteous way.
Listen, I agree. I want to short circuit going too far down the road of eliminating it because I just think it's the wrong path. I think it's too authoritarian for me and it's too authoritarian for the United States. We need to properly fund education. We need to properly fund public media. Look at how BBC, for example, is funded in the UK. You need to have some accountability for the impact of deliberate reporting of false news, but it's too authoritarian to say we're going to figure out some way to make Fox News illegal. It'll bubble up in some other way. It's not the way that things work in the United States. So I think that there's a different approach.
That leads me to the crux of my argument in that once upon a time, we had the FCC's fairness doctrine that did, to a degree, regulate news coverage.
Yep.
And I don't understand why we, as an American democratic open society, were able to control it once upon a time and now can't, other than the advent of the internet.
I got a call. Well, that's exactly it. I got a call about this a few days ago. And I think that at this point, just pushing for reinstating the fairness doctrine, because the regulatory apparatus of the fairness doctrine is for the airwaves, so to speak, under the sort of paradigm of the Telecommunications Act. And with so much of the news that we now consume happening on the internet and things that don't even look or sound like what the fairness doctrine regulated, I also don't think that's the path forward. I just don't think that it would. I don't think that it would achieve what you and I want to have achieved, which is a more informed population that is not susceptible to this fake news. And, I'm trying to remember, there's this thing about 1984 versus Brave New World. And, the world described by Brave New World is one where there's no need to censor or control information because I forget the quote. But the point is, we want a situation where it doesn't matter that Fox News exists because people are smart enough to know it's garbage and don't pay attention to it.
You're an optimist, and I am very much on the pessimistic end of the scale because all I've seen during my lifespan is a slide towards the right, and I don't see anything impeding the slide as it continues further to the right.
Right. Okay. Fair. Dave, I'm going to let you go because Donald Trump just published a video, okay? So that's going to do it for calls for now. The president is back on Twitter and has published a video. Let's take a look. This is a new statement from Trump, now unbanned on Twitter.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. Like all Americans, I am
Gabital. I like that.
Outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. I immediately deployed the National Guard.
Apparently that's not true, and apparently he didn't want to, and it was Pence who deployed.
And federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders. America is and must always be a nation of law and order. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those
Well, they're acting in representation of Trump, actually, not the country.
Who broke the law, you will pay. We have just been through an intense election and emotions are high. But now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. We must get on with the business of America. My campaign vigorously pursued every legal avenue to contest the election.
This is important. He seems to be telling them to simmer down.
Results. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. In so doing, I was fighting to defend American democracy. I continue to strongly believe that we must reform our election laws to verify the identity and eligibility of all voters and to ensure faith and confidence in all future elections. Now Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and
Wow,
seamless
this is for his legacy. Someone got to him. Someone finally got to him.
transition of power. This moment calls for healing and reconciliation.
Wow.
2020 has been a challenging time for our people. A menacing pandemic has upended the lives of our citizens, isolated millions in their homes, damaged our economy, and claimed countless lives. Defeating this pandemic and rebuilding the greatest economy on earth will require all of us working together. It will require a renewed emphasis on the civic values of patriotism, faith.
It's hard to believe it's even a real video.
Charity, community, and family. We must revitalize the sacred bonds of love and loyalty that bind us together as one national family. To the citizens of our country, serving as your president has been the honor of my life.
Wow.
And to all of my wonderful supporters, I know you are disappointed, but I also want you to know that our incredible journey is only just beginning. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Wow. This is amazing. Donald Trump figured out, with 13 days left of his presidency, how to sound insincerely, of course, presidential for 2 minutes and 41 seconds. Stunning stuff. Truly an incredible situation. Hey, here's our friend Leanne Caldwell. I've known her for over a decade. She was involved with some of the public radio stuff that I was involved in earlier. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I appreciate you joining me. I appreciate everybody who was here, the calls, the subs, everybody who contributed. Very much appreciate it. We'll be back very soon. Make sure you're subscribed free on YouTube. Make sure you're following on Twitch. Make sure you've liked on Facebook. And I'll see everybody again very soon.